Hey, Mrparka here to review a new one. This is by Brian Troxell, I believe his name is, and it stars Jimmy Dempster. He's actually the guy who sent me the link. This is a Florida-made slasher movie. At least it takes place in Florida. What we have here is kind of these campers get kind of picked off and chased by this madman in the woods. They end up taking refuge in this kind of abandoned or shelter house, this rental house in the woods, and the park ranger joins them, and they have to fight this guy off from getting in the house while they bicker and argue. This one is actually played fairly straight. It's not a tongue-in-the-cheek or a self-aware or parody slasher movie, which has been very abundant in the recent years. And a lot of those, probably like 1 out of 5, I enjoy. The other ones, I'm pretty much burnt out on them. I'm burnt out on a lot of slashers lately in general, straight and kind of self-aware or goofy slashers, but there's a lot less self-aware more straightforward ones, and it takes kind of guts to put yourself out there and make an honest slasher movie nowadays that isn't played for laughs. This one here, when the killer actually captures the people, it sometimes it flirts with that line of torture porn. It feels kind of a very tortury, tie them up, strip them nude, stab them, cut them, things like that. So it definitely is a little bit of the torture porn kind of movie as well. There's a lot of bickering, like I said, between the lead characters. The acting ranges. Some is all right. Joel D. Wynkoop makes an appearance, of course, and he's always brings a lot of energy, and I always enjoy watching him on screen. So he's a plus. The maid actor, or Jimmy, and the maid female, they're pretty solid actresses. Some of the dialogue is really patchy, which might come through and make some of the actors seem a little shaky at times. I don't want to point out and single anyone in general, but some of the characters are just so they don't seem like they act in a very realistic manner, but that's always been a problem with slasher movies. And it seems almost like they had the script written, and when they got to location, they just went with the script regardless of the surroundings. And although some of it seemed kind of hokey at times, and I don't understand why someone would act like that in the situation, it comes across as a little annoying at times, people doing some really dumb things and not thinking with their heads. The killer they keep referring to as sometimes as a thing or a monster. They kind of joke that maybe he's a demon, but he's really just a tattooed guy in overalls, a big kind of muscular guy. So the killer is a little lackluster. He's just your typical kind of backwoods, quiet, silent type, big guy killing people. So he's not necessarily intriguing. He doesn't use an intriguing weapon. I know these kind of elements are very important for slasher fans, is the element and the killer, and the nudity, of course, and the blood. There's a little bit of blood here and there, a couple of scenes of a lot of blood. One has a CGI splatter, but only one time with a head getting crushed in a car, which is probably the best kill in the movie. One of the kills is particularly brutal, with a head getting slammed in there, although not very graphic. You kind of feel sorry for the character that it happens to, so that goes a long way. A couple of the characters are likable, like I said. A couple are very despicable. A couple are pretty much non-existent, just there to get killed. And especially some characters pop in and out just to pad the kill count, which is kind of annoying at times because they're really unneeded. The score doesn't really feel like it belongs in a horror movie. It's definitely a very emotional score. Feels more like a TV drama type score. Not a bad score, just feels like a little out of place. The camera work in the movie is actually pretty good. They do some angles that are cool, on the pool table, and there's a scene, although it might seem like it doesn't really belong there at times, to create tension, that the camera circles around, and I was impressed with what they did with the camera. A lot of times people are afraid to get a little bit different or a little bit weird with the camera work, and they weren't afraid to get a little bit weird and different, and they took their chances and they did some cool stuff. I didn't notice any problems really with the sound, except during maybe the scene next to the fireplace. There's a little crackling that seems a little bit too loud or out of place, although it is louder than you would think in real life. So maybe they're going for that deal. There's a great shot where a lady is walking underneath this walkway, and the killer's up top following her. That's a great scene. Without spoiling too much, I don't want to give too much away. But it's a fairly uneventful slasher movie. One of the deals where it has lapses in logic in itself. The girl has flashbacks to parts at the end, or just sees it, or the movie has flashbacks, but that character wasn't there for those scenes. And it just feels like a lot of the bickering is between the characters is kind of pointless and strange, and it feels really uneven. So all in all, it's not exactly the most eventful slasher movie ever made. And with a lot of low budget old movies, the regional flair, low budget slasher movies that were kind of like independent, had a nice regional flair to them. This one, I think, kind of goes for that with the Florida touch. I've seen a lot of horror movies come out of Florida, and they definitely all have that Florida flair, like, Creeper, which was kind of another slasher type horror movie in the woods. I think the killer in that one was a bit stronger. But yeah, so it's so and so. It's not really my cup of tea, but it isn't completely inadequate or anything like that. So if you like straightforward slasher movies, it's not overly gratuitous in blood, but like I said, it does get to the torture porn element, and it's an honest attempt. They try to create characters, they try to make them matter, and they try to create some drama between the characters. Although it's not really something I was very interested in. I did love to see Joel D, and I would check out the director's other work when it comes out, but yeah, I'm Mrparka. All the information to rent below. I think you could rent it at Amazon. All that stuff and the links will be below in the description box and whatnot. So have a good one.
Rob. Look out! Run, run, Okay, we're gonna stay here, okay? We'll be right back.